Hello and welcome to Business Daily on Trust Television. On this program, we'll bring you up-to-the-minute updates on developments in the world of business, finance, investment, commerce, trade, and the stock market is not left out. I am your host, Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for joining in. Trust us to give you all the information as they come in as it relates to Nigeria's economy and the global economy at large. First, let's begin with the headlines for today. We'll begin from the electricity sector. Consumers in the electricity sector are demanding a reversal of the new tariffs. And in telecommunications, 5G, Airtel Africa acquires new spectrum from the NCC for $316.7 million. We'll give you more on those stories in the Business Roundup segment of the program. I'll take a short break. When I come back, the program will continue. Please stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for still staying there with us on the program. Now let's get straight into the stock market news from the stock market. What really are the numbers saying? Now the Nigeria Exchange we saw closed the week largely in negative territory, although we saw a positive close for the local burs here, 0.70% there for Friday. However, the week closed the first week in the year 2023 in negative position, down 0.06% week on week. And top gainer and loser sector indices, consumer goods topped the gainers chart with a gain of 6.44% week on week, while the industrial sector index closed negative 0.58% week on week. Now on the activity chart for Friday, total volume of 195.738 million shares valued at 7.5 billion naira changed hands in 3,673 deals on the floor of the local burs. The equity cap settled at 27.07 trillion naira. Now let's go over to other African markets. We begin from Africa's largest burs, talking about the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Now we're seeing a positive close. The movement in Johannesburg is positive, 78,262. We are seeing the market climb 1.83%, and in Ghana we're seeing a marginal positive opening, 0.02% there at 2,446. Now locally in South Africa, there's still issues going on around politics. South Africa's ANC ruling party concluded a 5-yearly gathering where the power crisis and the economy took center stage. Delegates were mandating the government to move with speed and prioritize critical maintenance of Eskom. Eskom is the power utility in South Africa, and we have seen that Eskom has been battled for some time now. There's been a lot of load shedding going on in South Africa, and that's affecting businesses in the country, and there's been some sort of outcry from citizens in that country as to what the government needs to do to ensure that it fixes the power situation in South Africa. Let's go over now to Wall Street in the United States, where stock futures inched higher Monday after the major averages notched their biggest rally for the new trading year. So we are seeing that all the indices here are largely in the green. The arrows are pointing upwards. For the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 2.13%, the S&P 500 climbing 2.28%, and for the tech-heavy Nasdaq composites, there's a surge there of 2.56%. So the market is really getting off to a start, although we saw the start for the first 2 days of the year staying largely in the red because investors were digesting the minutes of the US Fed, and it's looking like there will not be a slowdown for the hikes in the year 2023. And the markets were also digesting data on non-farm payrolls in the United States. Going over now to Europe, European markets open higher at the start of the new trading week, with market sentiment buoyed by further reopening of the Chinese economy. Of course, news coming out of China that the borders have been reopened. China has been battling the issues around the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're still seeing the country reeling amidst how to address that situation. The FTSE FTSE 100 in the UK up 0.14%. So the only red we have here is from France, the CAC 0.10% lower. And for Germany, we're seeing a 0.26% higher open there for the German DAX. Going now into the Asia-Pacific region, markets traded higher as Hong Kong and mainland China resumed quarantine-free travel over the weekend, signaling the end of a zero-COVID policy, which kept borders effectively closed for nearly 3 years. So China is opening up, and we are seeing that send positive jitters through the market. The Nikkei 225 in Japan up 0.59%. In China, the Shanghai Composite up 0.58% in mainland China, and South Korea's Kospi climbed 2.23% to settle at 2,350.1. And of course, markets in the Asian Pacific region are closed as we speak. Going over now to the commodities market segment, oil prices edged up on Monday, a day after travelers streamed into China. So we are having more travelers walking into China. Remember, China is the world's biggest oil consumer, and we are seeing oil prices react to that announcement. $80.62 per barrel, up 2.61%. For the bullion, the yellow metal gold is at $1,875.10, and we have other commodities staying significantly in the green. All the arrows here are pointed upwards in the green zone. Of course, there's an exemption for cocoa, $2,605, down 0.46%. So the news from China is indeed affecting markets, and we are seeing it, investor sentiment reacting to what the world's second biggest oil consumer is saying about opening its borders, especially after the zero COVID policy that we saw in the country. And we are seeing hopes for less aggressive U.S. interest rates rises as buoying financial markets and depressing the dollar. Remember, a weaker dollar makes the dollar-denominated commodities more affordable for investors holding other currencies. Let's go now to cryptocurrency market and see if the bullish sentiment is extending. Unfortunately, we're not seeing the bulls taking over in Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're only seeing Binance coin staying higher. They're 0.09%. However, for Bitcoin and Ethereum, we are seeing negatives. They're 0.39% and 0.32% lower. Those are the numbers we have to crunch for you on the program today. We'll continue to monitor markets and continue to bring you updates from the markets. Are the bulls dominating? Are the bears dominating? Of course, it's always a good day when we see the bulls dominating the market. Now, let's bring you news on the business roundup. Let's round up business stories for you. We'll begin from the power sectors. According to specialists in the power sector and consumer advocacy organizations, the recent rise in electricity rate by power distribution firms, as authorized by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, demonstrates how the federal government and distribution companies are mistreating Nigerians. Speaking on the matter on Sunday, they urged the federal government to direct the power distribution companies to rescind the tariff increase, highlighting the fact that it occurred amid the country's present acute economic crisis. Additionally, they claim that without following the multi-year tariff orders due process requirements, power distributors raised the electricity tariff that consumers must pay. Several condemnations have followed the development when the hike pricing was affirmed by a distribution company last week, despite the industry regulator's silence on the subject matter. Now, going over to the telecommunications sector, the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, has sold Airtel Africa's PLC's Nigerian affiliate, Airtel Networks Limited, Spectrum in the country. The notification to the Nigeria Exchange Limited made the statement. Gross consideration for the transaction was $316.7 million, which will be paid in Naira, the indigenous currency of the country. It claimed that the group's expansion will be supported by the purchase of a 5G spectrum. And that's all we have for stories from the business world. On today's edition of the program, we will be taking a look at foreign direct investments into the country, especially as the outlook for the year 2023. What really are we to expect in terms of attracting more investments into the country? Now, NIPC says investments are coming into the country. Investment announcements, I must also say, are coming into the country. How many of those announcements are translating into real-time investments? Also, when we look at capital importation reports, we hear issues around the fact that portfolio investors form a large chunk of that report. How can we ensure that FDIs and LDIs form a good number of investments coming into the country? I will be joined on the program today by Paul Alaje, the senior economist at SPM Professionals. During the conversation segment, he will be giving us more updates, especially throwing perspective on what to expect. It's an election year in Nigeria. What will power changing hands in February mean for investment climate in the country? You'll get to hear more from Paul Alaje. I'll hold my horses now and take a short break. When I return, the program will continue. Please stay with us.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Or really, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back, and thank you for still staying there with us on the program. If you're just tuning in, this is Trust Television and you're watching Business Daily, where we'll give you a wrap-up of business stories and bring to you factual analysis on how the Nigerian economy can be propelled and also bring about prosperity for Nigerians. Today, we are beaming the spotlight on investment. I am being joined now virtually by Paul Alaje, the senior economist at SPM Professionals. But before we get to hear his thoughts on basically the investment landscape in Nigeria, let's take a look at some data that we put together, aggregate together for you, how investments fared. Now you can see how that slide moved, especially from July 2019 to July 2022. Talking about investment, that is from tradingeconomics.com and also from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now let's go straight into the conversation now. I'm bringing Paul Alaje into the discussion now, and I just want to get your thoughts, Paul, on basically how do you think we fared in the year 2022 in terms of investment, attracting investment into the country? What's your overview?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. First, time to look at what the Bureau of Statistics is saying about the investment in Nigeria. A significant amount of investment has been lost into Nigeria, whether it's coming as portfolio investment or it's coming at capital inflow into the country. The truth is that foreign investment continues to go down in Nigeria, and the reasons are not far-fetched. You see, when we don't take action about something, we wonder the kind of result reports we are getting. Last year, 2022, we saw where the embassy of the largest economy in the world says they have whether Nigeria is safe to be. In fact, they issue a travel advice to their citizens. And when you are talking about investment, what we should understand is that United States dollar is what is usually used to quantify. And when the country is telling our citizens, and you could see that it was not only US, you saw citizens were advised, so many citizens around the world were advised regarding whether they should be going to Nigeria or not. So which investor will come to our country when the authorities of their country are warning them that our country may not be completely secure? But we will wait for a more updated report from the Bureau of Statistics to be released in the domain so that we can take a look at it. But let me also say, not so indeed. 2015, when the administration began, Nigerians were told we really do not need JP Morgan's list. And I can tell you that that was the beginning of the end of investment into Nigeria. The gains that we were having at JP Morgan has told government make some adjustment. Government are, well, we really don't need JP Morgan. We can exist on our own. What government did not realize on was that for investment to come country, investors to review our performance. They will look at Fitch report, they will look at JP Morgan's report, they will look at different reports to see if we are performing or not. But before government realized it, there was 2016, 2017 recession, which other externalities has contributed also to that recession, apart from the of government at the time in global oil market, an exchange rate crisis. So there are quite a number of challenges that happened on Nigeria. 2022 is not as an exemption, and we have seen that rather than Nigeria growing, investment is part time.
Paul, I also want you to speak to issues around the fact that this is an electioneering season, and you know, it is often said that good politics translates into good economics, and you cannot talk about politics in silos without speaking about economics. Now, I want you to tell me how significant will the ballot decision, especially for the presidential candidate, affect the investment outlook for the country?
Well, the measure of economic development is political stability, and sometimes who also is championing the political campaign of a country. That is, who are the people at the ends of us. We could also translate these low investments to distrust in Nigerian authorities, or feel Nigerian authorities are not capable to secure their investment, or policies that is coming from different headquarters within the Nigerian state may affect their investment. That is why we are having, that remains one of the reasons why we may be having foreign direct investment into our news. Now is the electioneering process. I also see that investors may want to hold their peace to imagine or to notice who will be the person that will take over from President Buhari. So I'm hoping that in 2023, if Nigeria take the right decision, and I can tell you of 3 leading markets, you know, the candidate of All Progressive Congress, the candidate of People's Democratic Party, and the candidate of Labour Party. These 3 candidates, presidential candidates, are all pro-market one way or the other. I've seen them, they have been involved in private sector one way or the other. It might have not been in a very large scale, but we have seen that there is consistent handshakes between them and the private sector. What does that mean? Yes, it gives him a green, because President Buhari, Nigerian Stock Exchange had unprecedented increase. There was a major surge, you know, in Nigerian Stock Exchange, which may be interpreted as an approval for President. But the moment President came back to Nigeria, there was an unprecedented fall. Nigerians, which shows that at that time, the market is saying, we are not sure you are capable of taking care of the private sector one way or the other. So, but look at it. When any person emerges, the chances are very high that the next president will come from among these 3 individuals. But this is my point and my observation. The market is also, the market frown at not having a structure of some sort. So the investors into Nigeria will also want to research as to which of these 3 candidates can allow private sector without interference, things that should guide Nigeria in selecting or in electing their next leader, so that it should not be based on sentiment, it should not be based on religion, it should not be based on region, it should be based on capacity, knowing fully well that when foreign direct investment grows within a country, we will have stabilized exchange rate. Apart from that, well, expanded or an expansion in our employment. And these 2 are very key, among other things, that foreign investment in our nation.
Now, the executive secretary of the NIPC sometime last year mentioned that Nigeria's investment promotion drive required more coordination and traction. Saratu Umar there, the newly appointed executive secretary of the NIPC. I want you to speak to what kind of coordination should Nigeria be looking at in terms of bringing in FDIs into the country and even harnessing or unlocking the potentials of local investments.
When you look at the Nigeria outrightly, you know that there is nation. And I tell you, I will start from the issue of ways and means. The Central Bank of Nigeria, that mandate, as an act to support the federal government in terms of advances with 5% of previous year's revenue. But as we speak, that government is who is checking on central bank? The fiscal authority, which government, if you like, broadly speaking, has gone to the central bank. So that tells you clearly that we're also talking about trade and Ministry of Trade and Investment, who is supposed to champion investment coming into Nigeria. But they cannot touch, they don't get the support in terms of currency coming from the central bank. The fiscal authority to attract people in place. The president have also said that Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. I've heard that there was a soundbite, quoting the president saying Nigeria is a fantastic. We want to go to a country that they know that the level of corruption in such country is very high. So everybody is just doing what he likes. If there are KPI, those the government has appointed to represent places, and if there are KPIs, are there performance indicators to say that this person is doing well or has not performed to expectation? These are we are not having the kind, apart from the structural issues that we have, insecurity, among other issues that we have, such as having significant infrastructural investment in the country, but coordination challenge. So if the new persons appointed is saying that we don't have coordination, it's a big challenge. And I will tell you this again: when you go to another country, such as the United Emirates, where when people invest in a country, they can account that Russia invested 15 billion euro into the UAE. The way they start treating Russia citizens becomes different. Nigeria, but invest in their name because some of the money are stolen from. They use another country's passport for those that have dual citizenship. Some use. So when you come to Nigeria, how many Americans have invested in Nigeria? How many Britons have invested in Nigeria? How many Chinese invested in Nigeria? Question. And this call for an holistic plan, holistic program that can aid what do we call it now, coordination. And I must that what the NFIU has recently done to the public account in terms of policy, we should also extend it to investment, so that all investment will be done, it will be digitalized, and there will be record to know exactly what's coming. When such persons are coming into our country, we should know. But let me put this last caveat, which can, it may to some extent have to do with coordination. We have seen what Emirates have done in Nigeria. They have issued tickets and they want to their fund. This fund repatriation taking immediate effect is taking almost forever. That has translated into Emirates not coming to pick Nigerian passengers anymore. It has also turned on quote, if you like it or not, into issue to some African countries, Nigeria, inclusive. And this is when we have an agreement with another country, as a country, we should stand to honor such agreement and say that, yes, it might be difficult for us to do, but it's going to encourage investment. Foreign airlines will, knowing fully well that for them to repatriate their fund, it might become an issue for us as a nation.
Now, finally, Paul, before I let you go, just before we end the year 2023, are you optimistic that we are going to see a better level of investments that will be attracted into the country? And also, what can subnationals do to ensure that there is a spread? Because most times when we see this investment coming, they are domiciled in certain states and there's not a spread around the country. Quickly, please.
Well, I'm very hopeful, but my hope would be we have a caveat. That is, Nigerians should take the right decision, observe all the candidates very well, and look at the one that is pro-investment, foreign direct investment. That is the candidate fighting security headlong, the candidate that will invest more in capital expenditure capex, not less than 50%, only to critical major areas that require it and can help improve investment. And lastly, I would also like to say that there is will not work if it's just within the federal government jurisdiction, but subnational stands a chance. And I did a research that reviewed that we can get even up to 40 trillion naira in revenue for all subnational, but subnational must do their job. It will not be because they have been appointed as a political head. Therefore, that is the final. I just want to generate something, pay salaries, go to Abuja, collect some revenue, and run as usual. Unfortunately, such style to develop a nation today.
Thank you so much, Paul Alaje. Thank you for joining the program today to share your thoughts on what needs to be done to attract foreign direct investments into the country.
Thank you so very much for having me.
And that's where we draw the curtains for the program today. It is essential that investors come into the country, as this will translate to better economic development and ultimately job creation for Nigerians, especially at a time when we have unemployment at a very high rate, at over 33%. Don't forget, you can catch up on all our programs, updates on news making the rounds in the polity on all our social media platforms. You have them right there on the screen. Go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Just punch on the subscribe button and you would not miss out on all the updates as they break. I am Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for joining in on the program and investing your time with me, and continue to stay safe. Bye for now.